What's going on, y'all? It's Mason Bleasdell, sales agent with the Garages of the Americas, and I've got the privilege of having Tim Myers, our developer, on for this one. And we're just gonna tell a little bit of the story of GOTA, some of the things that go into making this complex unique, all the little fit and finish. So, Tim, I guess introduce yourself. You have a racing background.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mason.
Talk about what's going on.
My name's Tim Myers. I've been a racer since 1997. I've not been a commercial developer. My business partner is Rafa from Rafa Racing Club in Houston, which most people know. And I got interested in garage condos because when we were traveling around, we had a race team, Hammer Motorsports. We were traveling around the country, kept seeing more and more of these garage condos popping up, particularly at racetracks. We decided to build our own near Circuit of the Americas when we visited Road America and saw two complexes right outside the front gate. Drove through there, spent a lot of time in there, and decided, you know what, we should build some of these somewhere near Circuit of the Americas. And so that's what kind of started the idea. And Chris Taylor, we bought the property from Chris Taylor Racing Services, which I think a lot of people in this area know. And funny enough, the night that we drove through and saw those units is when we were going to dinner at a restaurant. And we walked in and Chris Taylor was actually in the restaurant. And so I meandered over to Chris and said, hey, don't you own property near Circuit of the Americas somewhere? And he said, yeah, I sure do. And that started a discussion. And when we all got back, we were there for 10 days for the SCCA National Championship race. And when we got back, we got in a discussion with Chris about acquiring his property and building garage condos. So here we are. I traveled around to about 31 other garage condo complexes in the United States. I always tried to meet with a developer when I could, had a lot of conference calls and Zoom calls with ones that I couldn't visit in person. But whenever I was able to meet with a developer, I always asked the developers, if you had to do it over again, what would you do differently? What were the pain points of the development? And we took all that feedback, a whole notebook that I have, and we incorporated that into this complex. And what I came to find out was there's a lot of developers that cut corners, and they cut corners because of expense. And so some of these things that we've done are very, very expensive.
And ceiling height's a big one.
The ceiling height is a huge one. So I met with developers and I met with a lot of unit owners, and unit owners are great. You can pull up to the gate and say, hey, you mind showing me your garage unit? And they would certainly take you inside and show you and brag about their unit, which we loved looking at unit finish outs in particular. And so same thing, unit owners, number one complaint, roof height, building height. The number of garage condos that we visited where when you open up the garage door, there was a car lift right against the garage door that you had to walk around. And when you said to yourself, why is this? It's because the mezzanine was only 9 feet off the ground. And so you couldn't put a car lift at the back of the unit. And so really early on, we decided, you know what, we're gonna put our mezzanines 14 feet off the ground. And the significance of the 14 feet, RVs, 13.6 with air conditioning units on a Class A RV on the roof. A stacker trailer, 13.6 with air conditioning units on the roof. And then even car lifts, if you put two, Cadillac Escalades or Suburbans on a car lift, you need about 12 feet 8 inches to be able to put that lift all the way at the top notch. And so we just decided 14 feet, let's accommodate all three of those scenarios, which has been a huge hit for people here. It's really a difference. And as far as I know, even now, when we started this, there was about 120 complexes in the United States. Now there's close to 300. I think we're still the only one that's done them at 14 feet. And again, the reason for that is it takes a huge investment. You're talking about extra steel, extra weight, extra height of the building. And so our buildings also, the number of garage condos I visited, where the eave height, which is this front height, was usually 18 feet, 18.5, 18.8. Ours are 23.4. And so that's where we're getting all the extra height in the mezzanine. And then the other thing that we saw that was quite interesting is there would be a 20-foot tall ceiling, and then somebody would put the mezzanine right smack in the middle at 10 feet. Well, the mezzanine ends up being 20 inches thick. So they end up either with a 8-foot ceiling downstairs or an 8-foot or less ceiling upstairs. I saw some less than 7-foot ceilings upstairs where somebody tried to add height downstairs, but then upstairs, they had a living room with a 7-foot ceiling.
Well, we're 10'4" at the lowest point.
Yeah, at the lowest point, we're high 9s to low 10s. I think on average, we're probably 9 feet 10, 9 feet 11, somewhere around there. Yeah. And so that's if you walk up the stairs and you put your finger on the very first inch of the mezzanine. And then if you put your nose at the very back, we're like 13.6 to 13.9. Depending on which building and which unit. And so plenty of height.
It makes it usable.
Yeah, it sure does. One of the other big complaints besides that is, and this is even in the Austin area. So the Austin area, we're the only ones with tall mezzanines. But another huge complaint is mechanicals in the roof of the units or in the ceilings of the units. So if you look at this building that we're standing in front of, or if you look at this building, if you had an end unit of this building, there's 30 pipes that come in this wall on the end unit, and then each unit pipes turn off for the units.
As you drop power.
As you drop power, air conditioning, water,
Yeah.
sewage, drain, internet, all those things, including other complexes here in the United States, in the Austin area even.
Yeah.
In Austin, there are garage units that you go inside and they have 30 pipes up in the ceiling. Other complexes local here. And so the problem with that is the unit owner then, after they buy their unit, they get sick of looking at all those pipes and all their neighbors' pipes. They have to put a drop ceiling in. And I personally hate drop ceilings.
Yeah.
And so really early on, we tried to tackle that. And so what we have done is the columns that actually hold our buildings, we've gone 8 inches outside of the columns, and we've created an 8-inch chase all the way down the backs of these buildings and in the center walls. Our walls are 8-inch dividing walls. So all of our mechanicals are inside the wall, and so they're not in a unit. And so the unit owner gets a clean ceiling. They don't have to spend a big investment. I had a guy that bought a unit here that owned one somewhere else. He said he had to spend $50,000 on a drop ceiling to hide all that stuff. So we really have tried to do things to make it easier for a unit owner to actually buy their unit and move in and not have these big expense items in front of them.
Well, because if you're moving fire sprinkler systems, 50 grand adds up super quick.
Oh, super fast. I am happy to say, you know, our mezzanines actually include a staircase, which before you think that's too funny, it actually includes a mezzanine, for that matter, a second story. So we're one of the few complexes in the Austin area that actually the second story is included. There's a competitor across town that their unit and their price doesn't include a second story. And then if you actually buy one, that's a $40,000 to $60,000 expense right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then you realize you need a staircase, that's a $20,000 to $30,000 expense.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden you've had, you know, you bought a unit and you'll have almost $100,000 of additional expense right out of the gate. And then you realize, well, now I have a second story, I have no power upstairs. So then you have another $5,000 to $10,000 power problem upstairs. And then you need to drop the ceiling. And so these things add up really quick. So we really have tried to incorporate the best of all design principles into these units to really avoid that. And our pre-buyers are just enthusiastic. You know, they're just crazy enthusiastic about how well the units are built and how they're going to be move-in ready and not have to spend a lot of money. This is another thing too, we're standing here, it's worth telling you our drive aisles. This is another great example. And I get calls all the time from somebody saying, hey, I'm thinking about buying a garage condo in Missouri or North Carolina. What's some of the things that I should care about? I tell them mezzanine height. I tell them some of these other things we mentioned, but I also tell them the drive aisle. So we have a 61-foot drive aisle. So when I mention developers cutting corners to save money, this is a great example. I've seen complexes, including one close by, that's got about a 40-foot drive aisle. Why does this matter? Well, if you park an F-150 pickup truck right here, an F-150 pickup truck right here, you have to have room for a fire lane. There's actually a complex in San Antonio, you can't even park 2 vehicles like that across from each other and still drive through the fire lane. So we have a 61-foot drive aisle. Another reason why we put 61-foot drive aisles is we actually hired a company to figure out, could I back a 44-foot trailer into my unit? And the answer is yes, you could with a 61-foot drive aisle. You actually can do it with a 59-foot drive aisle, but there's a 0.2% chance that you would have trouble getting in there. So we increased it to 61 feet just to make it easier for people to pull in there. I actually have one on there that's got 2 units front to back that's going to park a semi-truck in his double unit.
And it's one of those things, you don't know it till you have that problem.
Yeah, you don't know until you have that problem. And once there's a bunch of cars parked there, you know we're here today, there's nothing parked in here today. There's just some work going on behind us. But yeah, if you just imagine, you know, I have a Cadillac Escalade. If it was parked here and there was another Escalade across from me, there's going to be plenty of room to go through here.
Yep.
There are some other complexes too where it's like one way in, one way out. Like it's going to be that crammed, including one that's local here in Austin, where if you were trying to drive out of there and waiting on somebody or somebody parked to unload groceries, you know, you'd have to wait for them to move. And so again, these are just more of the things that we incorporated into our units when we went over them. All of our units also have, they all have water and drain in them, so you don't have to go through they all have a utility sink, so there's water and a drain in every unit. More than adequate power. We have 3-phase power, 150 amp panel, that's equivalent per unit. It's dedicated power. Every unit's got dedicated gigabit Ethernet and 72 to HD TV channels. So even that we tried to take out of the mix of things that people have to worry about. Having the water in the drain of the units is helpful because if you want to put a bathroom in later on, half bath or a full bath, and you have the utilities available to you. And then when I mentioned power, we actually have our units, we have downstairs and upstairs power. We have 25 electrical outlets in each unit. And so standard, that comes with the unit, garage doors on the units, they're insulated. I love talking about insulation on these units. The only utility that owners have to pay for is individually metered power. So in Texas, you're required to have R30 insulation in the roof and R19 on the outside walls. We actually have R43 on the roof and R30 on the exterior walls. And then you're not required to have insulation between the walls, between two units at all. We put R19 insulation in the walls between units. We did that for two reasons: insulation, obviously, but also just sound.
Sound,
Yeah.
yep.
So sound will be a big deal.
And these buildings have white roofs on them too.
They all have white roofs on them. It's kind of funny when you're out here, you can't really see it, but you can see it from the highway.
Well, Sam put some
yeah.
in
Oh, yeah.
there.
Sam can put, yeah, he can put the drone up in the air. But yeah,
Yep.
white roofs. So again, cared about trying to keep the power bill down, trying to keep the heat down.
Makes a big difference.
The garage doors are insulated. They all have windows on them.
But,
and then another thing too, a lot of smart technology in the units. So smart light switches, smart outlets, smart air conditioning unit. That's another thing that we've done. But the air conditioning, 5-ton air conditioning unit, we pre-install 42,000 BTUs. 34,000 is required. We pre-install 42,000. An owner has the ability to add 18,000 BTUs more, which they can either have one 18,000 BTU unit or two 9,000 units. So if they're going to put an office upstairs, or they want to add it, they want dedicated air conditioning in the office, or some other room that they build up, their game room, something like that, then they have the ability to add those. And I'm sure we'll end up getting a clip of this, but even that we tried to make really easy for people. If you look at these air conditioning units, if you were going to add an air conditioning mini split in the back corner of this unit, you normally would have to cable that from the back corner of this unit all the way through this wall, up over the garage door to the condenser. We actually have installed a remote header pipe up underneath the front edge of the second story mezzanine. And so we've made it incredibly easy for you to add air conditioning units. You only have to cable it basically to the header unit. So even that we try to just make simple for everybody. The doors on our units, same thing, double pane glass, insulated. You can see they've got a 6-foot stainless steel handle on them. All of them have fingerprint coated locks, app control.
Let's go walk to one.
Yeah.
Let's show this.
Yeah.
So we've got 510 here, which is one of our 30 by 50s.
Yeah.
We put a couple cars in there too, just so you can get a sense of the scale of just how big these are too.
Let me mention something about the two sides of the unit. So this is a large unit that we're walking to right now. It's a 30 by 50 on the floor. And again, when people tell me what are some things I should care about in a garage condo, you should probably care that when they tell you it's 30 by 50, it's really 30 by 50.
Sounds elementary, but
we're not playing any tricks here. Other garage condos, I would say 90+% of them, they describe their unit width and their unit depth as the middle of this wall between you and I if we're neighbors, and the middle of this wall where Sam and I would be neighbors.
Yeah, this is 30 by 50.
This is a true 30 drywall to drywall, which again, we had to elongate the buildings to do that. And so again, extra expense, a lot more steel, obviously, a lot more concrete, but I really cared about being true to the size. So I visited plenty of unit owners, condos and other places, and they said, well, yeah, it's supposed to be 25 wide, but it's more like 24. And then another thing too, this one doesn't have the mezzanine joist painted underneath it, obviously already. But this is another thing, again, we don't play any tricks. Tricks are for kids. Our staircase over here, you can see the way that we've designed this staircase. When your mezzanine, your second story is 14 feet off the ground, we're actually almost 16 to the top edge of the mezzanine, so we're 14 underneath the beam here. The staircase has been designed, because of ADA, you can go 12 feet on a staircase and you have to have a landing. So you can see our first landing is over here, and then we've got 3 more steps and then a second landing, and then the last step is actually onto our mezzanine. You might think whoop-de-doo, right? Other complexes across the country, and even some that are here in Austin, what they actually do is they run this staircase straight through the mezzanine floor, which in theory seems like a great idea. But if they tell you that their unit is 25 feet wide, and then their second story is 20 feet wide, it's not 25 feet wide. They're not deducting for the actual space of the staircase, right, which is as much as 50 square feet or 40 square feet, depending on how far that staircase goes. And so you can see we've designed the staircases to be on the front of the mezzanine, so it doesn't deduct from your upstairs flooring. Another thing I don't like about the staircases when they cut through is they're kind of forcing your hands to tell you this is where your living area would be. Yeah. This is where you hang your TV. So they typically install a wall there so you don't fall into the staircase. So they're kind of telling you, no, that's where your TV goes. And if you say, well, I don't want my TV there, then you're kind of stuck.
Yeah. Also,
it creates kind of awkward stuff that when you come off the staircase, you've got to have 3 to 4 feet to be able to turn and walk somewhere. Yep. And so again, this Tetris game, they're kind of telling you the pieces you can't play with. And so at the top of the stairs, you can't really do anything. And so we just stayed away from that. You can see this unit too, single depth, single slope building. These buildings could put windows on the back of their unit.
Yep.
And so 100% of the people actually have installed the additional windows. I did want to mention the windows. Sam, if you turn around and look here across, The complex is completely symmetric, and so this is a big unit. You can see the 7 panes of glass up there. That's actually a 14-foot window that's 2 feet tall. It's obviously the same width as the garage door. So the garage door in the big unit is 14 wide, 14 tall. The window then is 2 by 14. And then you can see the 4 by 4 window that's above the air conditioning unit. All of our units have these 2 windows, at least on the front of the garage units, which again, this is a big differentiator. They're not cheap. You have to put it in the building design. You have to have it framed. It has to be steel, steel framing around it. The windows obviously are very expensive, and then you have to pay someone to install them. Those windows also double pane glass, low E soft coated, so they block 99% of the heat from the sun. And there's argon gas in the middle, which again is an insulating property. And so that's a big time window that you see in there. But again, early on, we just decided every unit's going to have windows, which again is a differentiator for us, I think. You can get some natural light inside the unit.
For sure. Now, we'll talk about the amenities over in the clubhouse here in a second.
Yeah.
But if somebody wanted to put a bathroom, for example,
yeah, this
upstairs,
is
you designed all this stuff, so it's very easy to do.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that this will come in really well on film, but again, this is something we really tried to care about. So if you look at the back beam on the unit here, this is a 20-inch tall beam, and you can see the floor joists are 12 inches, so that leaves us an 8-inch gap below the floor joist to the bottom of the beam. The significance of that is, you can see the fire sprinkler pipe here is the only mechanical that we're not able to hide. You can't really hide that. But the significance of the 8 inches is this is where we stubbed in water and drain for an upstairs bathroom, a full bath upstairs. And so that pipe is actually in that 8-inch cavity. And so if you decided I want to put a full bathroom back in the back corner of this unit, it's very easy to come right down along the joist or right down inside the joist cavity to where that bathroom needs to be punched through for a shower, a toilet, and just punch through the floor. And so again, we're even then, we're trying to hide the mechanicals as best we can and make it convenient for everybody. If that were not here, that's a $10,000 plumbing problem. Yeah. The fact that it's here, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of dollars to run this pipe now to where that needs to be. And then you can see the header pipe here that I was talking about. So you can see on the left here, this is where the 2 existing mini split AC units are actually hooked up. And then you can see on the right, there's actually 2 nipples that have a black cover on them. That's the 2 expansion points, or ports rather, that if you're gonna add air conditioning units, again, you can come down, you can go up underneath the floor, inside the floor joist, and they just get plugged in right here. Again, this is, sub $2,000 to add additional air conditioning versus, a $4,000 or $5,000 problem to go all the way out to the front of the condenser and cut sheetrock and route all that stuff and so forth. The staircases too, we offer a half bath upgrade option. There's a number of people, particularly the further you get away from the clubhouse, that have added a half bath underneath the staircase. It's also a great place because of the height and how big it is here to put a closet or something like that, store away some tools or a toolbox, slide toolboxes up against the wall. You can see the recess box here, that's for the internet and TV, which the company we're using for that, they were just gonna put I even tried to address that. They were gonna just put the unit on the floor. And so I had these recess boxes made to actually put the unit in the wall with an electrical outlet so that even that's tucked away.
It's all the little things.
It is all the little things. People ask me all the time, they're like, hey, besides making money and having a cool place, what else do you care about? I said, I care about months after it's open when somebody stops me and says, hey, I really appreciate you putting in the cool light switches or the cool lights that you can control by the app, or I had a delivery and I wasn't there and I was able to open my garage door remotely. Those things matter, I think. They matter to me, certainly. And so we try to make them convenient and at the same time just really address, these staircase. This is a $30,000 staircase. And so if you buy a unit with no second story and you go, oh, that's $40,000, then you need a $30,000 staircase, including other complexes here in town that'll sell you a $30,000 staircase. And across the country, that's actually pretty common. One other thing I want to mention about our mezzanines is that there's a lot of other garage condo unit owners that already own a garage condo somewhere. They're going to say, wow, I wish mine looked like that. The supporting posts for our mezzanines are actually in the walls. And so 90+% of the garage condos you see in the United States that have a second story on them, you'll see these support posts that are holding the mezzanine up. More often than not, it's because they've added the mezzanine after the fact. That's the least expensive mezzanine you can get, which again is a $40,000 to $60,000 mezzanine. But what sucks about the post is that the post ends up being 4 to 5 to 6 inches from the wall, and it creates awkward space. You pull a car in, or your wife's on the passenger side and you pull in, and she goes to open her door. Now she has to avoid a post. And so we put, again, really early design decision. We put the posts actually in the walls, and this is a structural steel mezzanine. So it's not a bolt together, kit, warehouse kit or something like that, which you see, that's pretty common. And so our mezzanine is actually, the second story is built from one end of the building to the other when the building steel is erected. And so it's tied into the whole building. I already mentioned this, but the height of the mezzanine, again, you can see that these are two pretty small cars, but you can see if I had a car lift here, it would come nowhere near hitting the ceiling underneath here. And again, the number of times, I visited a unit where a guy had a car lift right here by the garage door. He had two very expensive cars on it. He had a white Porsche on the back. And I said, hey, if you want to Sunday drive the Porsche, what do you do? And he says, I start like a 20-minute process to pull this car outside, lower this one down and pull it outside because I'm too worried about hitting the post and that car collapsing on the other expensive car. Then I pull the Porsche out. Then I pull those two cars in. I do my Sunday drive. When I come back, I have to reverse all that. And it's 95 degrees outside and I'm covered in sweat now driving my very nice Porsche. And so again, car lifts anywhere that you want to put them in here. I actually think this is kind of a nice little perk. We actually bought a forklift even for the complex that our unit owners will be able to use. It's got a ball hitch on it, so if somebody wants to put a car trailer in here, this is a racing trick that a lot of racers will go, duh, we've been doing that for years. They'll put the trailer on the forklift and you can get the trailer all the way over against the wall. So without being connected to a truck that has to continue to move. Even that's a nice perk for the complex.
And we need to put a couch upstairs.
We have a scissor lift also. So if you need to put a couch upstairs, you can put the couch on the scissor lift, raise it up, and then you and I can just lift the couch off versus trying to carry it up the staircase. So even that we tried to think of.
Let's walk to the clubhouse. Tell us about Yoshi's position, our on-site concierge.
So Yoshi is our full-time employee, and she'll be our full-time clubhouse manager. She's the general manager for the complex. And so she'll be working here full time. If you're a unit owner here, there's a lot of perks that we're going to announce here, I think soon when it's appropriate. And some people that have already been pre-buyers are going to be shocked by some of those things that they didn't even contemplate before they decided to buy a unit. But Yoshi, if you're a unit owner here, you get full concierge, full party planning, personal assistant type services from Yoshi. And so if you want to have a kid's birthday party here, Yoshi, and it's free. It might be it's included. So if you want to have a kid's birthday party here, she'll order you a cake, a clown, balloons. If you want to have up to a 20-person meeting in the conference room, I have one owner in particular who's going to have a lot of meetings here. She will order lunch and put drinks on ice and set the room up the way you want it. Put out notebooks, pens, those kinds of things. Welcome people when they get here. She'll manage the community events, which we'll have a lot of community events. It's funny, we're standing in this doorway right now.
I was going to point it out.
This was a request from somebody. I actually put two of these glass hanger doors on the front of the clubhouse so that you can park a car inside the clubhouse and created a storage space to be able to move the tables away. This area that we're standing in front of right now, this is a meet and eat area. So it's almost like restaurant tables. I had carbon fiber tables made. Leave it to a racer to have carbon fiber tables made, but I had carbon fiber tables made for this area. It can seat up to 54 people if you have a party. And so sit down dinner, or food trucks or whatever. It'd be a place that you could come in and sit down and eat. Or if you just come over on a Saturday and want to have a sandwich, watch some television, whatever. And then the conference room, 20-person over there.
And we have two meet and eat areas, because there's another one on the other side.
There's a bar actually on the other side. We call it the bar, but there's a bar on the other side. This is a full service kitchen. Again, Wi-Fi appliances. So if you preheat an oven or cook something in the microwave, it'll text you and say your food's ready or your dish is cooked or whatever the case may be.
And this is going to have bathrooms, showers, laundry room. Tell them what's going on up there.
This is actually the driving simulator room. And so there's going to be, I think the latest is we're going to have like 6 driving simulators upstairs. And so I like to tell people you can bring your friends and you can have some beers and tell lies, right? About who beat who or who was better on that particular day. But we'll have multiple driving simulators so you can come and hang out. And that was particularly important to Rafa. The Rafa Racing Clubs, he's going to have a Rafa Performance Center here, so it'll be a second location. His one in Houston's already open. It'll be directly across from the clubhouse. So there'll be a gymnasium over there and plunge pools and yoga room and I'm not the best spokesperson for that, but weights and elliptical bikes and all those other things will be directly across from the clubhouse. And then we're going to work on a reciprocal deal for our unit owners. They'll be able to use those things, and people that join that will be able to come to the clubhouse. But there'll be a lot of events here. There's 2 classrooms upstairs. One of them's connected to the driving simulator. Cameron Lawrence is the resident pro for the complex. He'll do some coaching on the simulator, so do coaching across the street, obviously. He's going to do some events here where he puts some people like in the classroom and goes over the fastest way around the racetrack, orders in some pizza and charges a small fee or something for that. So Cameron will have quite a few things going on here. You mentioned the bathroom. There's spa bathrooms. So by design, if you came over all hot and sweaty from a track day across the street, which a lot of people here attend the track days, It allows you to the locker room to go get dry clothes out of the locker room or bring them from your unit, go into the shower, take your sopping wet clothes off, shower, and merge with your dry clothes. And again, one of the concierge services, throw your clothes in the washing machine with your unit number. Yoshi will actually dry them, fold them, and stick them back in your locker, or we'll just stick them back in your unit. There are 2 other services that'll be here. So Chris Terrell Racing Services will have a new permanent building. This property's been in his family for, I don't know, 50 or 60 years. But he's got a new building built at the front of the complex. So he'll be an on-site maintenance, car repair, performance shop. So if you want to order tires, you can have them shipped to Chris Taylor. He'll mount and bounce the tires for you. You'll get your car out of your unit and mount and bounce the tires. Or you have parts shipped in. He'll do some transport stuff to some race events, or even to GOTA if you've got a race car. He's going to have a store over there where you can buy brake pads and brake fluid and safety gear and some other things that you might need. So that's a particular nice thing. And then we have an on-site car detailer PPF shop. And so again, if you go to a track day and you get all the little rubber things all over the front of your car, like I know you just did this weekend, you have the ability to tell the car detailer, hey, can you go get my car and clean it? And if you sign a release and let him into your unit, he can go get your car, move it to the unit, detail it, put it back in your unit, and then just send you a vendor request to pay him.
And all on site. You don't leave the property.
On site. You don't have to leave the property.
It's within or just outside the gate.
Yeah, correct. And there's some other things that we're going to announce soon, including maybe some track stuff and some other things, but I'll save that for another day, so more to come. The clubhouse, let me just mention one thing about the clubhouse too. It's 10,000 square feet. And so it's quite the facility. And again, if you're a unit owner, you want to use the conference room or a classroom, or you want to have a company Christmas party here, you just reserve the space. Might be a cleaning fee on the back end. What we're a little bit worried about is a kid's birthday party and they smash cake all over the place, and then it's kind of too late to tell them there might be a cleaning fee. But these are just free spaces for, the clubhouse belongs to the owners. Even the outdoor patio over here, 1,600 square feet, outdoor kitchen, outdoor barbecue area. Pizza oven, which funny enough, Mark Madison was here today, and he's going to be Luigi. I'm putting that on film. He's going to be Luigi and teach everybody how to make pizza, and he's going to make pizza for everybody. So the 1,600 square feet will have the barbecue and the pizza oven, the outdoor kitchen. There'll be 3 or 4 televisions outside here. And then upstairs,
the pergola.
Yeah, the pergola. So 1,600 square feet upstairs also. This pergola that you see is the largest continuous pergola in all of North America. It's 93 feet long. The significance of that is I had it built in three different blocks, and so you can close they're motorized slats on the roof, and so if you want to be in the shade, you can close the roof. If you somebody next to you wants to go read a book in the sun, they can open the shades or the roof blinds, or whatever you want to call them. And then there's power motorized blinds that you can enclose the whole upstairs balcony. And so again, reason for that, 5 or 6 months a year, it's so hot, it'd be hard to even sit on furniture out there. By being able to put yourself in the shade upstairs, this creates additional living space, basically, or leisure space. And so I'm really excited about the day that we'll have a Cars and Coffee or some kind of car club here that we host them, and there's, dozens of people standing up here with their mimosas and waving at everybody and saying hello. The security cameras too, you're starting to see those pop up. 77 security cameras and a fully AI-based system. The cameras auto track, people recognition, facial recognition, license plate readers. If the cameras don't recognize you, they'll actually follow you through the complex. And we actually hired a company to make sure that if you were on foot, you would never not be on camera in here. And if you were in a car, you would never not be on camera in here. That's important to people for a number of reasons. A lot of people will have expensive car collections here, and they care about who's hanging out or who's in here or who's near their unit. But also when you have these events, you always have to be worried about damage to community property. Also people get drinking and party and things like that. And so again, I think it's good security for everybody. It's a double gated complex also. And so even that, we tried to really create a good secure facility, 8-foot security fence, solid fence all the way around the property. You can see parts of it are starting to go up now. And so even that, we try to account for that even. These 4 buildings that you see, or 3 of these 4 buildings are basically done. The building on the far end down there is now getting the walls and all the mechanical stuff. And then the building back here is about to start getting the walls. And the company actually that's going to finish this building will be here tomorrow. And so they'll get the rest of the sheeting up and get the roof on that building, and then we'll get the walls done on that.
So question for you.
Yeah.
I know your building, for example, your unit, you're getting 2 back to back. One of the biggest perks of ours, we actually have a buyer over here getting 2 side by side.
Yeah.
But let's show the different configurations of that, because just this morning, guy with 15 cars, one's not enough.
Yeah.
But we've got a couple cool ways to combine. We've even got a buyer buying 4 and combining.
Yeah, we have a buyer buying 4. I had somebody over the weekend ask me about 5 or 6 together. Sorry, there's some junk in here, but
Construction zone.
yeah. But this this particular unit owner, he bought 2 units side by side, and there's a number of things that we can do for you. We can open the wall up between the units. We can put a doorway in, create like a lock off like a hotel would have. But this particular owner asked about putting this glass door between the units so that if his son was over here, he could close that off for privacy if he wanted to, or friends or family or whatever. And so this is a smart glass door. We actually have 2 of these in the clubhouse also. The significance of the smart glass door, which a number of car people have seen this in McLaren or Mercedes sunroofs. You push a button and the glass goes from smoked where you can't see through it to clear where you can see through it. This is a 20-foot wide door. He's putting one here and he's putting one upstairs actually. And so he can create double the leisure space upstairs and basically a double wide garage. But there's a number of ways this can be done. I do have somebody else that bought 4 units that I think is going to do like a 2 and 2, where 2 units are open to each other, the other 2 units are open to each other, and he's going to put a door between the 2. And so yeah, there's no limit for what you can do. The nice thing about this too is this is 1,500 square feet of upstairs space. So I mentioned our unit's 30 by 50. It's 30 by 50 and 25 by 50. The upstairs is a true 1/2 size of the downstairs. So that 30 by 50 unit is 1,500 square feet on the floor. It then is 750 upstairs. And so that our large unit is 2,250 square feet, not sub 1,000 like another complex here in town.
Yep.
And not just over 1,000 like another complex in town. And then our medium unit, which we've been calling it small, but I'm not calling it small anymore because it's larger than most other complexes large. Our smaller medium unit is actually 1,875 square feet. So again, it's 25 by 50 on the floor and then 625 upstairs. And so 1,875 combined. So this particular unit is 2 30 by 50s. So you're talking about 3,000 on the floor and then 1,500 square feet upstairs. So this is a 4,500 square foot combined unit.
Yep.
There is another complex here in town that has a unit that's that size that they advertise for sale. And that's what you end up getting here, just another route basically.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll jump over to that one because there's a different way you can combine 4,500.
yeah, you certainly can.
That's very unique because again, support posts being inside the walls, front to back, completely open if you wanted to.
Yeah, front to back, which is what I chose for myself also. So I have 2 units that are front to back. I have no clue what I'm going to do with my units yet. Everybody always asks me, and I say I don't know. But the front to back, so again, it's 3,000 square feet on the floor and then 1,500 square feet upstairs. This is the person that's going to park the semi truck. It's a race team actually, and so they're going to park their semi truck in here. And so you can see this is 102 feet long, a little more than 102 actually. So more than 102 feet long, and then 30 feet wide. You can see the double staircases, and then 1,500 square feet upstairs, which is actually, if you think it's enormous down here, when you're upstairs, it's almost overwhelming how big that space is. And then you can see he's on the end of a building, so he was able to put some windows in. He's got a half bath downstairs here. He's going to put 2 full baths upstairs, I think, and then a kitchenette and a few rooms upstairs, and then big living area. Wow. And so that's his plan.
And this one's just getting drywall work done. It's getting close.
Yeah, this one's getting kind of close. It's gotten 1 coat of paint on it. You can see there's some more painting to do, but
yep.
And a lot of storage, obviously. Some of these units we just have turned into storage space. And right now, because this building is all walled, this is actually the only unit, other than mine's got a bunch of stuff stored in it too, but this is the only unit that you can get to the other side of the building without having to walk all the way around, which even that, we put a 6-foot walkway between these buildings. So yep. If you've got a friend that's back here in the back of the complex to come visit you, he doesn't have to walk a quarter mile. It's a big complex. It's 18 acres.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't have to walk all the way up and around the building. So we put the 6-foot sidewalk area between the buildings for shortcuts. You can ride a scooter through it, or a skateboard, or a bicycle, or something like that.
Yeah. Tim, thanks for the tour, man.
Yeah, welcome.
What have I not mentioned? What's the good summary thought?
I would say dare to compare. Our unit pricing, we're in phase 3 right now doing pre-sales, which I know you guys are working really hard on. Stepped pricing. So phase 1, our lowest prices ever. Phase 2, slightly higher. Phase 3, slightly higher. Phase 4 is going to be quite a bit higher. But I would say dare to compare. Even at face value, our prices, way lower per square feet than, there's at least one complex nearby that's almost twice the square footage price. But I would say dare to compare not just the price, because our price is very, very aggressive. There's some of these other owners are actually quite upset at me for the price that we actually are offering our units at. But not just to compare that, but also compare the features that you get. Compare that you're not going to have to spend $50,000 to $100,000 on your unit right after you get it to add electrical and add a staircase and add a second story. We also don't limit unit owners build outs. There's some other people in other complexes that only they can do the build out of the unit or the interior finish and all that. From day one, we've said we're not going to get in the middle of that. We're not going to play middleman on that and make money from other people's work.
Yeah, you got to be licensed if you're touching utilities, but other than that.
Yeah, so you have the ability you can use some of our suppliers if you want, but if you want to use our suppliers, you just negotiate with them directly. So we're not negotiating for you and then marking that up or something in the middle. Or you obviously can use your own people. And so, you have to have licensed people. They have to be insured. And then you obviously have to go through the permit process when applicable. We have one unit out here right now that somebody's going through that right now. And a lot of people out here have hired architects and interior designers that are doing their layout and coming up with renderings and things like that. So it's a really exciting time. But I think the final thought is just we're very close to the racetrack, obviously. There's another racetrack, Harris Hill, that's 26 miles away. We do have some other partnership stuff that we're going to announce, I think, here very, very soon in the future, which is going to be incredibly exciting for other people. But just our units, the size, the garage door, the height of the mezzanine, what you actually get.
Space.
It's not a shelf
really
space.
Important
It is not a shelf space.
Like, obviously, this is not 100% complete yet.
Yeah,
but it's not a shelf space.
Yeah, when you talk to garage condo developers and they say, "Hey, we sell you a shell," it's usually a shell.
Yeah.
There's another complex here in town where a shell means a shell. It doesn't even have sheetrock in it. There's another complex that has sheetrock and it's been mudded, but it's not painted.
Yeah.
It's got 2x4 staircase, 2x4 second story with hanger joists holding the mezzanine up, which another unit owner actually sold his unit at one of those complexes. And he said that his floor was sagging in the middle, and so we have none of those issues. And so I just think what you get at this price point and the finish out, and then the complex is just going to be incredibly nice. I mean, 10,000 square foot clubhouse, that's a real clubhouse with real services, real amenities, a way to really turn it into a community. And I really, really think that if you come over here on a Saturday, you're going to see, a dozen, 2 dozen unit owners over here hanging out. I really do think we're going to have a community here versus a place that people just buy units. Their chauffeur brings them and they store their cars here and you don't ever really get to meet them or hang out. I think this will be a place to hang out. Mark Madison starts cooking up those pizzas. I think he'll have a lot of business.
You've been named, Mark.
Yeah, Mark Madison's been named. Luigi. It's funny when I text him, it takes 30 minutes to respond. When I text him about the pizza oven, it was like 5 seconds. Bam. But really excited about the complex. Can't wait to get open. Can't wait to share, the vision that I had for the whole place come to life. It's been amazing to watch it coming to life.
It's been wild.
The feedback has just been incredible. My favorite buyer is somebody that comes here that's looked at other complexes in town and says, whoa, this is in a whole nother league. I really think it is in a whole nother league, particularly at the price point. I've had a lot of people say, hey, they should be more expensive. Why don't you raise the price on them? We're not going to raise the price on them. The price is already in the books. Some people have had their deposit with us for 2 years. And so, we're not changing any of that stuff. And so we want to reward those people that got in really early and have been hanging in there with us. So super excited about it.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for you guys coming out and Sam doing his video work. And
he's pretty good.
You, of course, on the grindstone trying to get some more units sold. But incredibly excited about opening up.
Indeed. Thank you for your time. You guys have any questions, you want to come see the complex, love giving tours, my personal contact details will be on the screen and down below. Thanks for your time. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.